Hello. So I wanted to make this video real quick to speak about how, just to get straight into the point, I wanted to make this video real quick to talk about how when you have a certain point of view, you have to be willing to defend your opinions, your point of views. When you have your own opinions and your own point of views, when you have your own way of processing information, when you have your own way of processing the world, that doesn't mean you don't take from other sources, because that's okay too, but generally speaking, when you have your own way of just like piecing things together, your own way of thinking, right? When you think for yourself and you've developed your own opinions and your own personal belief systems, and you're willing to share these things, you have to be willing to defend what you're sharing, or you will start to lose touch with yourself, if that makes sense. You will start to lose touch with your own ability to develop these ideas. You'll start to lose a sense of security that you might have already developed, a foundation you've already developed within these belief systems, because you're sharing them and people are speaking negatively on them. They are sending negative energy to these things, and it's causing you to doubt them yourself. So if you've developed a certain way of living, a routine, a belief system, if you've developed a foundation where if everything on top was to crumble, your foundation would be so stable, so strong, you could reorganize yourself, restabilize yourself, and build up once more, because your foundation is so strong. You see, many people, I feel, this is not a diss against people, but many people, I feel, do not have their own foundation. They don't have strong foundations. When I say strong foundations, I mean they have trouble finding middle ground. When things start to get hazy, when things start to get crazy, things start to get foggy, they have trouble finding that middle ground within themselves. So when you have your own middle ground, when you've developed a sense of presence within yourself, if you found a way of returning to a strong foundation, whether it's in a belief system, whether it's in a routine, whether it's in a habit that stabilizes you, because in this crazy society that we live in, that can sometimes feel so crazy, sometimes feel so overstimulating, you need something to give you a sense of security, something that you can do to help you maintain. Does that make sense? To help you not lose touch. That can be something like meditation, grounding. If you are religious, not that I personally don't really believe, I don't really believe in religion, but if you are religious and you seem to find, it doesn't matter, if you feel like you find middle ground in religion, if you feel like when you pray, when you read the Quran, a certain verse or certain verses in the Quran, they make you feel stable. When you sun gaze, when you return to your own belief system, it gives you a sense of security. and then you decide to share this with people. See, there's a reason why I don't really share too much with people nowadays. Not because I wouldn't like to share my ideas. I wouldn't like to share my own, I don't want to call them secrets, because they're things that anyone could do. They're things that are out there, right? To maintain, right? Because I feel like sometimes when you are working in a certain environment with certain groups of people, and you seem to be able to have a sense of consistency in and high efficiency in that said environment, people start to wonder what it is you do to maintain yourself, because people seem to have a trouble maintaining that sense of consistency. And a lot of it too, this is different, has to do with the fact that we're not all the same. Some people, just based on the way they are internally, their personalities, their the way they are, they can it's easier for them to stick to a routine. It's easier for them to stick to a routine, and in that sense they can work 9 to 5s. For me, it's easier to work a 9 to 5 than some other people. Other people that I've known struggle a lot more to work a 9 to 5 and to maintain. Not that I haven't struggled myself, but I've had multiple jobs, but the jobs I've worked, I've managed to stay there for like 2 years at a lot of them, bro, at most of them. It's only recently, because I was having some trouble internally, where I was actually struggling to maintain a job, just because I was really just kind of like all over the place and struggling to find my middle ground and find a sense of navigation, right? Navigation in this world. I was kind of just like free flowing, floating, wandering, not really taking any responsibility, not really just really not giving a shit, really, if I'm being honest. And yeah, I definitely am now at a point where I feel I'm a lot more responsibly inclined, meaning I'm more responsible. I'm more inclined to be responsible, instead of kind of just like, like living life and doing things that I really shouldn't be doing, acting out in ways I really shouldn't be acting. It's not beneficial to me, and it wasn't beneficial to the people around me, even if my intention wasn't always malicious. So, yeah, when you have a point of view, when you have belief systems, when you have routines, when you have certain habits and stuff like that, and you decide to share this stuff, you have to be willing to stand, to a certain extent, you have to be willing to stand on business for these things. You have to be willing to stand on business for things that you are for. Things that you're for, you have to be willing to stand on business for these things, because people will fight you on this stuff, bro. Even something like grounding, bro. Like, I've had my parents fight me on this stuff, right? They'll like fight me on how like grounding is somehow just like this out of touch type activity. No, trust me when I say that. Like, it's like this hippie type activity, where you're like, it's like you're a hippie. Like, you're a hippie for connecting to the earth, right? But connecting to the earth barefoot. You're a hippie for standing underneath the sun and recharging your energy via cellular con- cellular connection, bro. Quite literally cellular connection, because when you're standing under the sun, you're literally recharging your cells. Cellular connection. You're connecting to the sun. We're very similar to our devices, bro. It's like we seem to think we're so different from everything, but we're very similar to like our cell. Being serious, we're very similar to our cellular devices, to our phones. We're all very similar, bro. Similar blueprints at the foundation. Extremely similar blueprints to even the plants and the trees and animals in nature. We like to think we're so different sometimes as quote unquote human beings, but the truth is we're extremely similar, bro. We're more similar than we are different, which is why I believe, not currently, I believe in understand and I'm understanding more and more that we truly are all one. Doesn't mean we're not different. Doesn't mean that we're not different as people, right? As individuals, we are different, but we're still all one, as in there's a source. There's a source within each and every one of us that connects each and every one of us to each other. right? So yeah, like I said, when you have certain ways of doing things, when you have certain ways of living that is outside the norm, that's outside what most people are doing, and then you start to share this with people, people start to see you doing these things, and it's off-putting to them, right? It might be off-putting to them. You're gonna have to fight to maintain that. Otherwise, you'll start to feel doubt within yourself, and you'll start doubting yourself, questioning yourself and questioning, like, why am I even doing this? Like, people think I'm weird. People think that. You have to ignore that. You have to block out that noise when you're trying to live your best journey, when you're trying to be your best person, when you're trying to be the best person that you can be, when you're trying to reach spiritual alignment and maintain spiritual alignment, regardless of what people think, regardless if you have friends or your family, you're aligned with your family and you're like, it doesn't matter. I'm at the point where it's like, the thing that is my priority is myself. And I don't mean that in a spiritual, I don't mean that in a selfish way, because I also understand that I'm looking at it from like, the better I can be, the easier it is for me to contribute to whatever environment I'm in, to help boost that environment, energetically speaking. So it's not just about me, it's about the environment around me, right? Because it's about the energy that revolves around me and how I can affect it in any given moment based on my internal state, whether negatively or positively. So it's just a matter of like, I am now much more conscious of my effect on the world around me based on my actions and how my actions affect my internal state. If that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. That's also okay. It doesn't need to make sense. But yeah, so you'll have to fight. You'll have to fight to some extent, bro. Like, I don't mean this in a way to like prepare you for war, but in some way you will have to prepare for war. You have to be war ready to a certain extent. Be willing to defend. Be willing to defend yourself. Be willing to defend what you stand for. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be fighting all the time in this hyper defensive mode, but to have some level of defense is necessary. To have some level of ability to defend and fight is necessary. Have some fight in you is necessary. So I'm gonna finish the video there, and yeah, I hope you got something from that. I try to make these videos with good intention. I try my best to make them with an intention of wanting to share knowledge I have that could potentially help people who watch the video, who watch these videos. I don't want to make these videos to like toot my own horn, because that's not the point. What good is that for me to toot my own horn? I don't feel the need to toot my own horn. You know, at the end of the day, I'm trying to be my best self, internally and externally. So yeah, I want to finish the video there, and yeah, bye.